Hello friends, in continuation to our previous class, that means how the reducing components, that means NADH and FADH2 formed in glycolysis and Krebs cycle will enter into the electron transport chain, which ultimately leads to the formation of ATP, what we call oxidative phosphorylation. But before we go into the exact topic, that means mechanism of electron transport chain, that means oxidative phosphorylation, we have to discuss about certain basic aspects of bioenergetics. Bioenergetics. Mechanism of electron transport. Because all these issues come under the head of bioenergetics sphere. Bioenergetics, otherwise called biochemical thermodynamics, is nothing but the study of change in the heat content during a biochemical reaction. That means, say for instance, a reactant, its heat content may be different between its initial and the final stages. That means how the heat change behavior of a reactant between initial and final stages shall be dealt in bioenergetics, otherwise called biochemical thermodynamics. Simply in the synopsis, like change in heat content in a biochemical reaction. So it is important component here. Bioenergetics deals with change in heat content. That means actually energy, broadly change in energy in a biochemical reaction. How the energy is changed in case of biochemical reaction? How and what makes? For example, there are two kinds: exergonic and endergonic. These two processes in bioenergetics will influence or change the biochemical reaction's heat behavior, because exergonic will release heat, that means will release energy, whereas endergonic requires to supply the energy. Okay, that means this change or the depending on the kind of reaction, the biochemical reaction will proceed. And one more important word we have to be about what we call free energy. Simply delta G. It's available energy for work or utilizable energy. It is utilizable energy, no? Then another one important word, enthalpy. It deals with changes in the heat content of reactants. Then one is entropy, is delta S. It deals with changes in randomness or disorder of reactants and products. That means bioenergetic change in the energy in a biochemical reaction. Free energy is available energy, which is indicated by delta G, whereas enthalpy is the change in heat content of reactants, but not the products. But entropy, it is delta S, which is nothing but the change, that means deals with the change in the disorder of both reactants and products. There is a relationship between delta G, that means free energy, delta H, and entropy. This is very important because in every biochemical reaction, that means every biochemical reaction shall be dealt or handled under this sphere. Say there is a simple formula which deals about this. Delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Here delta G is a free energy plus delta H is enthalpy, delta S is entropy. This is very important. Whereas T is absolute temperature in Kelvin. That means 273 plus degree centigrade. And whereas delta G, this is standard free energy. There are different standard free energies for different high energy compounds. It may differ. I told you already. It depends on the kind of compound and depending on the reaction. Say whether if it is releasing the heat, that means exergonic, and if it is requiring the energy, that means have to supply the energy, then become endergonic. So depending on the kind of energy, we have to use different signs. For example, delta G negative, that means exergonic, and delta G positive for endergonic. The most classical exergonic reaction of ATP plus H2O gives rise to ADP plus Pi plus, that means here delta G is minus 7.3 calorie per mole. It's very important because ATP is our energy currency. When one ATP breaks down, that means exergonic reaction, it leads to an energy of minus 7.3 calorie per mole. But it is not the high energy compound. There are several, that means standard free energy with respect to I'm saying, okay? There are several high energy compounds which are far better than ATPs. We'll discuss a few compounds, it's about the bioenergetic basics. For example, pyrophosphates, simply called phosphoenol pyruvate. Phosphoenol pyruvate. 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Here it is minus 14.8 calorie per mole. Then cyclic AMP we have minus 12.0 calorie per mole, and he is minus 11.8 calorie per mole. Glycerol 3-phosphate is just minus 2.2 calorie per mole. Bisphosphoglycerate. And we have already said ATP, that means ADP plus Pi, have minus 7.3 calorie per mole. These are high energy phosphates. This is low energy phosphate. These are all standard free energies. Superstep 0 means free energy. So that means phosphoenol pyruvate is most important compound because it leads the release of energy of minus 14.8 calorie per mole. And on the same line, cyclic AB minus 12.0 calorie per mole. And the same then 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate minus 11.8 calories per mole. So these are far better than the regular currency of ATP. That means just minus 7.3 calorie per mole. And if there are some low energy phosphates like glycerol 3-phosphate have just only minus 2.2 calories per mole. Okay, it's about different basic aspects of bioenergetics. Since in the last class we told you that NADH and FADH are the basic reducing coefficients which shall be used in the electron transport chain, because in how the ATP is produced, the simple answer is transfer of electrons coupled with the ATP production, what we call oxidative phosphorylation. The word oxidative phosphorylation means phosphorylation with respect to ATP. This oxidative means here the electrons should carry from the reducing elements NADH and FADH2 should get oxidized. I repeat, NADH and FADH2 should get oxidized so that the electron shall carry along the different electron chain systems, so that ultimately leads to the synthesis of oxygen. That means water from through oxygen, say oxygen molecule plus protons plus electrons, which from the same has been combined with coming from reducing elements like NADH and FADH2. So that means oxygen, protons, electron leads to formation of water. The end product is water. So during this process, the ATP synthesis will be done. That means electron transport coupled with ATP synthesis is oxidative phosphorylation. This is very important. And how this mechanism work out? It is through different complexes. That means enzyme complexes in electron transport. This is very important. Okay. But before we go to the topic, we have to learn certain important words like what is biological oxidation. It's about bioenergetics. What is biological oxidation? We must know about how oxidation helps in phosphorylation, because there is a close phenomenon. Electron transport coupled with, it's a close phenomenon. Biological oxidation. It's a close, it's a coupling, an interlinked phenomenon. That means oxidation and phosphorylation. Electron transport in coupled with ATP synthesis. So what exactly the oxidation, how it works? So we knew that, for example, take an example of Fe2 plus. When it gets oxidized, it becomes Fe3 plus. When it again reduced, it becomes Fe2 plus. Here the electron will go out to an acceptor. At the same time, here the electron will enter. That means to become reduced form, oxidized, reduced, reduction. It is general example. Apply the same concept in electron transport chain. How the reducing elements will involve. For example, say NADH plus H plus. We already told this is important. It is reduced, become oxidized, NAD plus. Releases 2 protons plus 2 electrons, which converts FMN to FMNH2. It's a terrific example for biological oxidation. That means NADH and H plus, nicotinamide 9, dilute we already discussed in the last class, become oxidized, releasing 2 protons and 2 electrons, so that the FMN become reduced FMNH2. And what if FMNH become FMNH2? That means reduced form. This is very important electron carrier and plays an essential role in electron transport through via different complexes. That means through different electron transport chain, simply it will produce ATP. That's the link. So to reduce the FMNH2, the reducing element NADH plus H plus should get oxidized. It's like energy currency can be compared with ATP, and whereas NADH plus H plus are banks. That means they have to oxidize to get these via different components. Just say that they are the cashiers and bankers which help us, like electron transport. We will discuss step by step how it works. Okay, it's about a basic understanding about what is biological oxidation. That means simply oxidation means here loss of electron, simply called oxidation. Reduction, the gain of electron. This leads to a concept called redox potential. Redox potential. This is very important for the understanding. Simply E naught. Redox potential different for different pairs. Say there are two here. These one redox pair. Say NADH plus H plus. NAD is one redox pair, whereas FMN and FMNH2 is another redox pair. These are redox pairs. And what is redox potential? The tendency of redox pairs to lose or gain electron is different in different pairs. It's not the same. This is called redox potential. And this redox potential is essential in ATP production. How? We will discuss in the last concept. That means in the end, regarding when we discuss about energetics of ATC. Okay, this is very important to me. Redox potential, it will be measured in volts for ATP generation. So these are interlinked phenomena. Oxidation, loss of electron, and the participating component, what we call redox phase, and the difference of potential, what we call redox potential, and this potential leads to generation of ATP. That's the link. So before we get into the exact of ATC, we have to understand these circuits. Okay. Then the mother phenomenon is called ETC, electron transport chain. I told already, it's a sequential phenomenon for electron transport, so that ATP will be synthesized. It's a sequential movement of electrons along the electron carriers so as to synthesize ATP, simply electron transport. And the process called oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, how it works? electron transport chain mechanism. No, I told you the reducing elements has to get involved here, which we get in Krebs cycling glycols. No, how? For example, there is a complex. So it is called NADH coenzyme Q reductase as FMNH2 or discussed. This complex 1. Complex 1. And there is one more. This is complex 2. Succinate coenzyme Q reductase. Here, succinate. You add is FADH2. Then FES. Here, same FES. Iron sulfur protein is to coenzyme Q. And here, the substrate is NADH plus H plus. Get from substrate. Then it goes to complex 3. Coenzyme Q cytochrome C reductase. Then cytochrome B, then PS, then cytochrome C1, then cytochrome C. It goes to complex 4. No, cytochrome oxidase. Cytochrome oxidase. Yes, cytochrome A, cytochrome A3. That leads to H2O simply by, I told you, oxygen have to involve A3. Then one more most important complex, complex 5. It's called ATP synthase. Yes, F0, F1. Here ATP will be synthesized. We have ATP. Say, let me tell you. Coenzyme Q is important. Cytochrome B, then C1, then C, then A, then A. Now, this is an overview of electron transport. I told you already. The reducing elements, say how they can, the different substrate, for example, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, isocitrate, alpha ketoglutarate, malate, glutarate, malate. In glycolysis Krebs cycle, here it is like succinate, for example, outside, for example, in Krebs cycle. Then these reducing elements, the substrates, they give reduce from NADH, and from NADH it will release electrons, say 2 electrons and 2 protons. For example, in the previous discussion we have discussed, and they enter into, for example, we will start from here for the basic understanding. The electrons will move from here NADH to FMNH2. Here FMN is FMN. Here flavoproteins, what we call. Both complex 1 and complex 2. Here FMN is a prosthetic group which covalently attaches to the protein. This is the non-protein group, okay? Prosthetic group. And this FMN is electron carrier. These are all nothing but electron carriers. Coenzyme Q, the cytochrome C, the NADH, these are all electron carriers. And for the electron bit first, they move from NADH to FMNH2. That means FMN become FMNH2, reduced form. Then it gives electron to iron sulfur protein. Then it goes to coenzyme Q. Then the coenzyme Q, it is a mobile lipophilic protein. Then it will pass it on to cytochrome B. which is that means complex 3. It is called coenzyme cytochrome C reductase. Then ferrous sulfur protein, then cytochrome C1, then cytochrome C, then here cytochrome oxidase complex 4, cytochrome A3, ultimately H2O. That means here electrons plus protons plus molecular oxygen leads to H2O. The simple we can say from the way of a half what it means molecule, the NADH plus H plus, this gives rise to H2O plus NAD plus. That means oxidization. That means oxidation of reducing elements. For example, reducing elements. Oxidation of reducing elements. That means loss of electron from the reducing element which move along a complex sequence of chains, ultimately leads to formation of water, and this process has to coupled with the ATP production. These two are linked. What we call coupling. What exactly called oxidative phosphorylation. That means synthesis of ATP is coupled with the electron transport chain. That means electron transport chain mechanism is a structural aspect to get the thing done. What we call oxidative phosphorylation. It's about the basic issue of electron transport chain, how the electrons flow, but how regarding we have to deal about mechanism. That is mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation. It's about basics, so you can understand at the basic level, at the lower classes, but how the mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation is very important. Before we go into that, there are different oxidative phosphorylation points. This is point number 1, FMNH2 oxidation. Then this is second, cytochrome B oxidation by cytochrome C1, and third oxidation. That means different oxidative phosphorylation spots. Oxidative phosphorylation spots. It is first spot, that means oxidation of FMNH2 by coenzyme Q. The second spot, oxidation of cytochrome B by cytochrome C1. The third spot, cytochrome oxidase reactions. These are all called oxidation spots. What exactly? That means they facilitate proton pump. That exactly means that leads to ATP. Okay, this we will study mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation. There are different hypotheses to explain about this concept. That means mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation. But the most practicably applicable Peter Michel's chemiosmotic theory. It is a hypothesis, Simply chemiosmotic theory. It is regard to mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation. There is one more theory is called chemical coupling theory. By Edward Slater. But it's like high energy phosphates, just like analogous to substitutable phosphorylation, is high energy phosphorylate compounds will be utilized in sense of ATP. It is about with regard to chemical coupling by Edward Slater, but it is not practically possible because there are no experimental evidences in support of this thing. But the most conventional and universally applicable and accepted theory is chemiosmotic theory for oxidative phosphorylation. Peter Michel proposed this concept. It is very important concept. How the ATP gets sensitized. It is based on proton gradient. I will tell you what exactly it means. It is very important. Say this is mitochondrial matrix. This is inner mitochondrial membrane. This is intermembrane space. This is outer mitochondrial membrane. See, this is complex 1, C1. This is 3, C5 is very important because this is the one which actually synthesizes the phosphate, the ATPs. Okay, I told you already, oxidative phosphorylation spots FMNH2 complex 1, cytochrome B to C1 complex 2, sorry, complex C, then ultimately the complex 4, cytochrome oxidase. And how they facilitate proton, that means ATP through proton channel. This is what we call proton gradient maintenance. This is a very important concept, okay? For example, before we go into the talk about these are certain basic issues. The inner mitochondrial membrane is impermeable to protons. That means this is here. Then what exactly happens, when electrons move along these complexes, that means electron carriers, the protons from matrix, they get into the intermembrane space. That means the protons from matrix through the coupling membranes, that is through intermitochondrial membrane, say complex 1, 2, 3, they will reach the intermitochondrial, that means intermembrane space, creating a proton gradient, that means low pH, because lower is alkaline. That means creation of electrochemical gradient. And this electrochemical gradient facilitates the ATP synthesis. This is very important. What we call proton gradient driven ATP synthesis. I will tell you how it works, okay? But for now, so that means proton gradient, what we call electrochemical gradient, is essential in the synthesis of ATP through coupling channel. That means complex 1, 3 and 4. And these protons, which then again they go back to the mitochondrial matrix through complex 5. Here I will magnify it. Complex 5 contains two heads. This is F0 head and this is F1 part. And they are called lollipops. They appear like lollipops. And these protons, say 6 protons, for example, they will go inside the matrix again. Then here 3 ATPs will be synthesized. This is clear, I think. That means one NADH leads to 3 ATPs. The concept is clear. One NADH leads to 3 ATP. It's like around 104 protons alone. So that means how this process works well. So that means these 6 protons, when it goes back to the matrix, it will rotate the F1 part, what we call rotary mechanism. We have discussed about. That means proton gradient is a driving channel for ATP synthesis, as proposed by Peter Mitchell. Then the important concept, how this proton channel, that means the proton channel rotates the F1 part. This is very important concept and an advanced issue for better understanding of oxidative phosphorylation. That means entire concept of oxidative phosphorylation depends on this concept. It is F1, that means consists of C subunits, F0, C subunits. Then F1, which is gamma, in magnified it. There are totally 6 subunits here. This is alpha, this is beta, this is alpha, this is alpha, this is beta. That means F1 component consists of a gamma, the largest part, then it is surrounded by alpha 3 and beta 3 subunits. This is very important. The protons, when it move like this, it is called motor rotor or binding energy. Or engine driving. How it works? I told you already. This is very important because ATP synthase of complex 5 consists of two components here. The F0 component is consists of C subunits, they are nothing but protein subunits, and F1 which consists of a gamma end, which is a long protein, and surrounded by alpha 3 and beta 3 parts, beta 3 proteins. When the protons, that means influx of protons, enter into the gamma part, it will rotate. Actually, till now there is no clarity. What we call unknown phenomenon. Unknown. We don't know how protons rotate the gamma part. So we call unknown, like starter, okay? And this rotates the gamma, the protons, when it enters into the F0 part, they rotate the gamma, and this gamma induces conformational changes in beta 3 subunit that leads to ATP release. Say for instance, ADP plus PA. For illustration, I am saying ATP. That means for one revolution, say this is the F0 part. That means this is gamma part, okay? When protons enter here, it will rotate. For one revolution, 3 ATPs are synthesized. This is very important. How? Because of induction of structural conformational changes of beta 3 subunit. Actually, we have to magnify this part, beta. It consists of 3 ends: loose, open, and tight conformation. For example, this is gamma. I will tell you a simple way. This is tight. This is tight form. Sorry, this is loose. This is tight, and this is open. ADP plus PI will bind to the loose form. When they bind to the loose form, they will become, that means structural conformation, T form. Here ATP is synthesized. Then here open form become ADP, a loose form. Then the T form become O form. So it's a cyclical conformational changes. This is very important point in beta 3 subunit. Leads to release of ATP. That means beta 3 subunit of F1 part of ATP synthase of complex 5 undergoes conformation because it has 3 conforms: open O, the loose L, and tight T. ADP plus with the raw material binds and sits to the loose form, then it becomes tight form, then the open form becomes loose form, then the tight form becomes loose. Here this is very important. Tight form becomes open, sorry. This is very important for ATP. The entire crux point of oxidative phosphorylation is the tight form, and the tight conformation changes of beta should become open form, and it is energy dependent. This is very important. So that ultimately the open form of beta 3 subunit, which is energy dependent, release ATP, and it is nothing but the T form, the tight form, which contains ATP, in which the ATP has been synthesized, become the open form. So open form then become loose form. The loose form ATP plus P, then tight form ATP, then the open form, loose form, then tight form become loose, then again open form. Then open form, it opens the ATP. This is how the phosphorylation. That means this is how the electron transport along the electron carriers, like say in complex 1, an electron carriers like cytochrome C, for example, coenzyme Q. Coenzyme Q is a mobile carrier, and how it drives the proton coefficient. That means how the protons from the matrix goes to the intermembrane space, and again they come back to these, the F0, F1 haze, and the protons, the F1, which will rotate the gamma end, and it rotates gamma and induces the You know, beta 3 conformation changes from tight, from open to, that means L to tight, tight to open, and open tight. That's how the ATP synthesis, what we call oxidative mechanism, rotor motor mechanism. And ATP synthesis is called smallest molecular motor. This is called world's smallest molecular motor. This is about energy driving phenomenon, energy driving, engine driving. Okay, engine drive means a proton drives, the engine. Okay, this is the, since here the motor is the F1 component, particularly the gamma 1. That means the gamma 1 is a main component driven by the proton. That is why it's called engine driven. Motor, rotor, engine driven, energy, binding change concept. Okay, so there are 3 different names. So it's ultimately leads to ATP production. So this particular one, I told you energetics, the last component. How much energy has been conserved? Energetics of electron transport. That means, okay, say the entire concept. Say energetics C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 38 ADP plus 38 Pi gives rise to 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus 38 ATP. This is the overall phenomenon how the ATPs are produced. And with regard to I would learn energetics. For example, that means if the rate is 42% of energy, I told you exergonic process has been conserved. How? That means, say, for example, it depends on completely on redox potential. Say half O2, H2O, then NADH plus. These redox states, the redox potential difference is 1.14 volts, that equal to 52 calories. And how it works, I will have to discuss point by point. 3 ATPs from 1 NADH. Totally, that means 21.9 calories at the rate of 7.3 calorie per 1 ATP. Means 1 NADH in terms of energy is equal to 21.9 calorie. And that means 1 ATP equals 7.3 calorie. With respect to energy consumption, how to calculate, 21.9 by 52 into 100. 42%. That means out of 52 calories, that means that I have told already, redox potential is important. It is measured in volts between half O2 and these are 2 redox phase. Out of 52 calories, only just 21.9 calories has been conserving, or at the rate of 42%. That means the rest of the energy loss, not loss. It's not loss, not loss. It is for body temperature. This is very important because we are homeotherms. We are homeotherms. They are like birds in our human. We have to maintain a consistent body temperature of 98.4 Fahrenheit, around 37 degrees centigrade. And how it maintains because of this? The rest of that means 58% energy will be utilized to maintain a consistent body temperature. That means it is one of the head of homeostasis. That's how oxidative phosphorylation is one of the pathway to homeostasis, and that's how this ends.